50 for more details.
The NBA playoffs are finally here, and FanDuel Sportsbook is celebrating by hooking new users up with $100. Just bet $1 on either team in the Clippers-Mavs series from now until May 30th, and FanDuel will give you $100 in site credit even if your bet doesn't win. You heard that right. New users can bet $1 on either the Clippers or the Mavericks, and FanDuel will give you $100 in site credit. FanDuel is the #1 sportsbook in America with their simple-to-use app. Plus, they have different deposit options, so you know your dollars are saved. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and sign up with my promo code Hennig to turn your $100 into a big-time payday. That's promo code Hennig on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 in order to play and present in New Jersey. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires in 7 days after receipt. First bet only. Offer is non-transferable. Terms and restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got 'em!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Sports Bash Saturday Power Hour here on 97.3 ESPN. I am your host, Josh Hennig. Yes, we're only here for an hour today because 1 o'clock starts the NBA playoff coverage on ESPN Radio. The Miami Heat continue to get punched in the face by the Milwaukee Bucks. Will the Milwaukee Bucks put them out of their misery? No Dante DiVincenzo tonight. He is out for the rest of the playoffs. His ankle is wrecked. So he is done for the postseason. Also, you look at what's going on with the Sixers. There will be no, there will be a, what's his name? Tobias Harris tonight. No Seth Curry likely. I understand they keep questioning, they're unsure. He's probable. He's questionable. I'm just going to go into like this. I'm going to pretend like there is no Seth Curry tonight. And if he is on the court, I'll be surprised. That's how I'm going to treat the game tonight. 7 p.m. Sixers basketball right here on your home for Sixers basketball in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. We got a busy weekend as well. Of course, the Lakers-Suns game tomorrow. So we got NBA playoffs all weekend long. And we got you guys out there listening. The text board is open at 609-403-0973 is the text board. Also, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can watch the show. Hello, everybody. See my messed up hair that I'm going to get cut later today. My dumpster fire hair right now is just out of control. The thing's got to get cut down. I mean, this is you know what? COVID-19 has done wonders for a lot of things in this world, not my hair. I have gone way too long between haircuts multiple times now, and it's getting to the point where it's out of control. This thing on my head is disturbing, all right? It doesn't do what I want it to do. I try to get it in place. It goes 20 different directions. I look like Wolverine stuck his claws into an electrical socket when I wake up in the morning. It's ridiculous. Mike Gill says my hair looks like Trey Young. Billy Schweim's confusing me with Josh Harris. It's ridiculous. This thing's ridiculous. But I'll get it cut this afternoon. But anyway, back to sports. That's what this is, a sports station, not a lifestyle station. So, a couple of things I want to hit on with the Sixers. First of all, again, Tobias Harris is good to go for tonight. Big deal for them. I was saying yesterday, whether Seth Curry is available or not, I would just sit him for the game. I think they can beat Washington without him. Whether they win the series in 4 games, 5 games, doesn't matter. By the way, how about this for a stat? The Sixers have not swept a series in the first round since 1985 against the Milwaukee Bucks. How about that for a long time? I didn't realize it was that long until they mentioned it on SportsCenter this morning. That's just insane. And by the way, I thought Mike Gill brought up a great point yesterday. Can we get Triple H and Shawn Michaels to ring the bell? Because now Triple H and Shawn Michaels are retweeting Joel Embiid tweets with, "Are you ready and trust the process?" If those didn't understand what's going on, Joel Embiid did the Degeneration X when he fell on the ground the other day. And he said after the game that his favorite pro wrestlers were Triple H and Shawn Michaels and the Degeneration X era of pro wrestling. And now you have Triple H retweeting him. We need those guys to ring the bell. I'm just putting it out there. You know, they got Pat Croce to come out there to ring the bell. I'm sure they can find a way to get Triple H up there, right? And it's okay that half the fan base probably has no clue who Triple H is because Joel Embiid will. And Joel Embiid is the one that matters because he's the one who's going to put up 40 points just to impress Triple H that night. Like Billy Schweim over here has never watched a pro wrestling thing since 1980. The last time Billy watched a pro wrestling match probably was Hulk Hogan out there. Yeah, he said Bruno Sammartino. Get out of here with that. You know, Billy's over here only naming people from like the 1980s. Billy's still stuck on the 80 championship party. He's still hungover from it. All right, get out of here, Bill. So Sixers back in action tonight. NBA playoffs. Here's the rundown for the weekend of the games. And of course, Heat Bucks coming up at 1 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, Phillies at 1 o'clock today. Zach Wheeler on the mound. But for the NBA playoffs, so you have the Bucks and Heat coming up. Bucks are a -5 favorite on FanDuel Sportsbook. Then at 4 p.m., it's the Nuggets at the Blazers. Blazers are 5-point home favorites against the Nuggets. Sixers 7-point road favorites at Washington. And then tonight, 9:40, the Jazz at the Grizzlies. Jazz are 5.5-point favorites on the road. And I'm watching the games yesterday because, you know, no Sixers are on. So you get to focus a little, and no Phillies last night either. You get to focus a little extra on the games last night. And if there was ever a question that the Brooklyn Nets should not be the prohibitive favorite in the Eastern Conference, it was last night. The Boston Celtics won that game at home, 125-119. And I've heard a million times about how, the Nets are unbeatable when they get their big three back together. Nobody can stop them. Well, you didn't have to stop all of them because Durant had 39, Harden had 41, Kyrie had 16. So just a little rudimentary math here. Harden and Durant scored 80 points. Kyrie scored 16. So that means 3 players accounted for 96 points last night. And their team went out there and scored 119. So 3 guys accounted for over 70% of their team's points. And they still lost. Because their defense just wasn't existent. They couldn't do anything against Jason Tatum. And the thing that helped Tatum as well was, look what happened in the post. Tristan Thompson had 9 offensive rebounds. Not 9 total rebounds, 9 offensive rebounds. So I don't want to hear about Nick Claxton. I don't want to hear about Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, who didn't even play last night, by the way. He's a DMP, just straight up healthy scratch last night. I don't want to hear it. Look at what the Celtics did last night. Their number 2 scorer was Marcus Smart. You're telling me that a capable NBA player shouldn't be able to handle Marcus Smart? Well, apparently not, because he went 5 for 8 from 3. You know who didn't go 5 for 8 from 3? Joe Harris went 2 for 7. Kyrie went 2 for 6. The Nets are vulnerable. So for all the people out there on TV and radio and all this stuff, I'm telling you right now, I've been anti-Nets for weeks now, and I'm sticking to it until I'm proven otherwise. This Nets team is vulnerable. They are beatable. This is not an unstoppable force meets an immovable object situation. The Bucks look more unbeatable than Nets do. The Bucks are just crushing the Miami Heat. The same Miami Heat team that went to the NBA Finals last year is getting punched in the face again and again and again by the Bucks. And if you're the Nets, you better be worried, because literally last night you handed Milwaukee and Philadelphia the game tape to beat you. And the game tape is this. The Celtics went into this game and said, we understand that nobody can stop Kevin Durant. The dude's 6'11" and he shoots threes at a high clip. The dude's a freak. You can't beat him. And you understand that James Harden's going to be Harden. He's going to get his points. He's going to get his assists. But if you can limit Kyrie, if you can limit Joe Harris, if you can punch blonde-haired Nick Claxton in the face by out-rebounding him. Nick Claxton had 5 rebounds off the bench. Him and Blake Griffin together had 10 rebounds total yesterday. That's your 2 big men. Tristan Thompson had 13. He out-rebounded 2 players by himself. By himself! Kemba Walker even had 8 rebounds yesterday. Jason Tatum had 6. Your 2 big men have 5 and 5. Oh, but you're gonna beat the Sixers. Get out of here. I'm so tired of this narrative that the Nets are this unbeatable force. They're the Nets. They got 3 stars and a bunch of dudes. And let's be realistic. Of those 3 dudes, none of them won a championship as the primary guy. Kyrie Irving was LeBron's sidekick. Yeah, he had a big 3-pointer to win that series. But you know what? He's not unbeatable. Kevin Durant had to leave Oklahoma City to go to Golden State and usurp Steph Curry's team to win a championship twice. And then James Harden hasn't even been to the NBA Finals since he was with Durant and Westbrook. I remember somebody texted in to the station a couple weeks ago and said they didn't believe in the Sixers to win because they've never done anything. To which I replied, there's only one team in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs that actually has the resume to say that they've actually done anything, and that's the Miami Heat. And right now, the Miami Heat are in danger of being swept because they can't get back up off the mat. They can't do it. I mean, they have been punched so hard, so many times, it's almost a fait accompli that Milwaukee is going to beat Miami today. Coming up here on 97.3 ESPN FM, you can hear the game. Coverage begins at 1 p.m. Milwaukee looks unstoppable. The Nets don't. And Mike Gill asked the question yesterday, who would you rather face, Brooklyn or Milwaukee? And it was split 50-50 on the vote. And I'm wondering right now, you may not have a choice. Because if it's Milwaukee versus Brooklyn in the second round, that may go 6-7 games. And Milwaukee might just take them out. Because the Nets look like 3 dudes who walk onto the court, who all play college ball, and they pick up me and Mike Gill. And when people realize that me and Mike Gill are not as good as the other 3 guys, they realize they can beat us. All right? Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We will get to your guys' comments in just a little bit over there. And of course, text board is open as well. 609-403-0973 is the text board. 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN. So coming up next, I got a bunch of comments, a bunch of texts coming in. We will hear from you guys right here as we get you prepared for an NBA playoff weekend right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City, where you can get all your Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, Flyers, and high school sports coverage in South Jersey. Just download the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, listen to 97.3 ESPN wherever you go, and sign up for the alerts. So whenever there's breaking news, you get it right there, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Josh Hennig, be back to get to your thoughts and comments next.
It's Sixers playoff basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McInnes, calling all the exciting Sixers playoff action.
Joel shoots it over the double team, and that's good. It doesn't matter.
It's Sixers Wizards Game 3 tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers playoff basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN FM. Later today.
Today just got a little more exciting because you have a chance to win $253 million with Powerball. Talk about a way to really shake things up. So keep it interesting and take your shot because anything can happen in Jersey.
The weather is getting warmer. Memorial Day.
On some models excludes Corvette with GM financing. Excludes prior sales. See dealer for details.
Many car dealers all around the area are having trouble getting inventory, so they're jacking up prices big time. But at Bennett Chevy, we haven't changed a thing. Why would we? You said you love our GM supplier employee pricing. You pay what our supplier employees pay, not a penny more. Bennett also gives you all the rebates, which can add up to a whopping 25% off MSRP. Plus, Bennett's got available 0% financing that'll save you thousands more. Looking for used? Good news. Bennett's still paying a minimum $7,000 for any trade you bring us, regardless of condition or miles. Any old Heath is worth a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned in stock. And our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend, so there's no pressure ever. And Bennett Chevy is now an authorized lease return center for all brands. So now more than ever, there's just no beating Bennett. Find new roads at Bennett Chevrolet, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig back here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, we got a lot of basketball, a lot of stuff going on. Sixers back in action tonight, 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. Full details on the team, head over to 97.3ESPN.com. We are hopeful Seth Curry plays tonight, but if he doesn't, I think we'll be okay. We have people texting in at 609-403-0973. Those of you listening on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We also got texts coming in and messages on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I'm going to get to all of you here right now. First, we got Glenn in EHT chiming in at 609-403-0973. Glenn says Durant might have gone to Golden State to win a championship, but from the moment he arrived in Golden State, it was his team, period. And Glenn throws exclamation point, all caps, period, at the end. So here's the thing, Glenn. Durant went to Golden State because Steph Curry, the league MVP, multiple-time league MVP, told KD, I will take a secondary role so you can have your team. They had to capitulate. They had to compromise. They had to give Kevin Durant what he wanted. That's why that whole group, you remember the whole thing? They went to the Hamptons. It was Curry. It was Draymond Green. It was Iguodala. It was Klay Thompson. They all went to the Hamptons to meet with Kevin Durant to tell him, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to play. They had to sell him on coming to Golden State. Steph Curry, again, the league MVP multiple times, the greatest shooter of all time. It was his team, but he had to offensively cede away control and power to Kevin Durant, so Kevin Durant would come there. So that's the real reason why it came off as Kevin Durant's team. Not because it really was his team, but because the leaders on that team understood that in order for Durant to be there and for Durant to be happy, they had to give in to all of his demands and all of his, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it diva-ness, you want to call it, soft, whatever. The reality is, Durant wasn't the leader of that team. It wasn't his team. That was Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green's team. And they had to take a back seat so Kevin Durant could come there, because if they didn't, Kevin Durant wouldn't want to be there, because you saw as soon as Draymond Green and Kevin Durant had a public disagreement, Durant was gone after that season, out of there, because Durant don't want no smoke. Durant's going to the Hall of Fame. He's a league MVP. He's a finals MVP. He's one of the greatest scorers of all time, but he can't handle, he doesn't really handle the smoke very well. Okay. He doesn't handle the heat in the oven. very well when it comes to relationships and on a personal level. And I don't want to criticize him. I understand everyone's different, but it is what it is. So Glenn EHT, I understand what you're saying, but don't tell me that it was his team. Because the guys who was their team admittedly said, we are going to do whatever it takes so Durant feels like he's the star on this team. Not to belittle the fact they won a championship. They won 2 with him. But as soon as things got hot in the kitchen with him and Draymond Green, instead of handling it, Durant was out of there. I think that's very telling. Get over to, before we get more, text board 609-403-0973. Thanks to Glenn jumping on the text board at 609-403-0973. Nick chimes in on Facebook. Nick says, I feel like the Wizards are just a weaker version of the Nets, says Nick on Facebook. Sixers let Bradley Beal do whatever he wants because he's going to get his no matter what and limit everyone else's to limited stats. Nick goes on to say on Facebook, let KD do his thing and clamp down everyone else. I think that's the way you beat him, and you saw it last night. You're not going to stop Kevin Durant. I just said it. He's one of the greatest scorers of all time. If you were making a top 10 list of greatest scorers of all time, Durant unequivocally has to be on that list. Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they're all on the list. But so is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is a credible scorer. So you don't stop him. You might limit his touches by guarding everyone else harder, but let him get his. The numbers played out last night. You had 3 players combined for 96 points, but they're an offense-based team with a brand new, fresh out of the oven head coach, Mike D'Antoni on the bench. They didn't even play DeAndre Jordan last night. I mean, you got out-rebounded. You got your butt kicked in the post, but DeAndre Jordan's just chilling on the bench. What are you waiting for? You're keeping DeAndre Jordan out for game 4? He's going to make that much of a difference? Stop. Steve Nash, he's flying by the seat of his pants. He just got his driver's license. He doesn't have a lot of hours with the driver's permit. He's trying to shift. He's double shifting. He's missing the clutch. He's stalling the car out when he's trying to turn because he didn't hit the pedal to the clutch fast enough. It's a mess. The Nets are phenomenal. They're talented. At least 2 of those guys are going to be the Basketball Hall of Fame one day. Definitely Kevin Durant. Probably James Harden. I don't know about Kyrie. I mean, he might get there. He might not. I don't know. But you got 3 superstar caliber players in terms of talent and ability. But you lost to the Celtics because Tristan Thompson got 9 offensive rebounds. I'm telling you, I think Nick's got a point here on Facebook. There's something to be said for the fact that if you let the superstars do their thing, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, they're scorers. You're not going to stop them. Let them get their points. Who cares? You can still win the game. Let's get more of your thoughts over here. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 973ESPN. Also, text board is open at 609-403-0973 to get on the conversation. 609-403-0973. Like Dan and EHT on the text board chimes in and says, interesting with Kyrie against the Sixers. Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, and Danny Green should really slow him down. Also, Kyrie is not a good defender. A couple things there. One, I think if I'm the Sixers, I have a couple ideas of what I would do. All right. My working theory is that I would have Danny Green deal with Kyrie because Danny Green doesn't do as well chasing guys around. So I don't want him guarding Harden because Harden is a guy who runs around through screens around the court. He outruns you a lot of times. There's a lot of games I watched James Harden in Houston and now with Brooklyn where he just runs you ragged. You put a defender on him, he just wears them out. So I don't want Danny Green chasing him around. That's not Danny Green's best. Danny Green is good when he's got a guy in front of him and he has to slow him down. And I think that he's a little bigger than Kyrie, so he can muscle him around a little bit, get in his grill, make him uncomfortable. Crowd starts going nuts. Maybe Danny, just kind of, pushes down his arm a little bit so he can't get the pass easily in. Gets under his skin, just hanging in his pocket. And what I would do is I would have Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle take turns on Harden. And then whoever else is left, I would have deal with Durant, because Durant's going to get his. We saw it last night. Durant is, like I said, he's an amazing scorer, so you're not going to stop him. But you can stop the rest of the team. I told you, last night, the Brooklyn Nets scored 119 points. Their 3-star players scored 96 of those 119. The Celtics still scored 125 points. The Celtics shot over 50% from the field last night. Over 80% from the foul line. The Celtics got the foul line 23 times. Now, you might say it's not a crazy amount. No, it's not. But the Celtics can get to the foul line by forcing the Nets to commit 23 fouls last night. What do you think Joel Embiid's going to do? Joel Embiid might have 20 free throws in a game versus the Nets. So if I'm a Sixers fan, I'm starting to look at the Nets a little bit like fool's gold. And I'm starting to worry more about the Bucks. The Bucks are taking the most proven team in the Eastern Conference. The one team that has a NBA Finals roster. And they just completely punted them. The Bucks might finish the sweep today. Right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 1 o'clock. Because it just feels like the Nets have no hope left. I understand Dante DiVincenzo is done for the year, but come on, man. You got to show me a little bit more. I mean, Jimmy Butler's having a really rough series. He's not shooting well. Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, they got defenders in their face all the time. Whether it's Drew Holiday, whether it's Chris Middleton, whether it's now Pat Connaughton and was Dante DiVincenzo, whether it's PJ Tucker, these dudes are getting up in the grill of the Miami Heat's scorers. And what they're basically saying is, we don't really care about Bam Adebayo. That's really what it comes down to. They're looking at Bam Adebayo and they're saying Jimmy Butler is not putting up big numbers. Butler's getting some nice assist numbers. But Bam Adebayo is really the problem, okay, for them. And when I look at this series and I realize that, you look at a guy like Bam Adebayo, he's phenomenally talented. And it's a similar thing with the Celtics did last night. This series, the Bucks are saying, we're not going to let Bam beat us, but we're not going to let Bam do what he does best, which is be a facilitator. Bam Adebayo averaged over 5 assists per game this year, which was 31st in the NBA. So that's pretty good for a big man, especially. And what have they done? They've limited his ability to get the ball to his teammates, and they limit those shots. In the first game, they basically shut down Bam offensively. They made life difficult for him. They put Giannis on him. And Giannis is as big as Bam. They're just basically the same size. Second game, they limited Bam's ability to get his teammates involved. So while Bam himself had 16 points, he only had 4 assists. Bam had a better game at home and didn't matter. He had a good game. 17 points, 8 rebounds, but still only the 4 assists. You're limiting the Heat's offense. I think you're seeing that the key in the postseason is limiting the other team's most impactful player. That's why I think the Bucks are probably going to sweep this series. I would say it's more likely the Bucks sweep the series than the Sixers. Not because I think the Sixers are a worse team than the Bucks. I think the Miami Heat have just had their will taken from them. I think that Spoelstra, I think he's just running out of ideas. The Sixers have punched the Wizards, but the Wizards still fighting. The Miami Heat been punched by the Bucks, and they just gave up. The Celtics got KO'd basically the other night, and they came back with a vengeance. It's like watching watch the movie The Fighter, the scene with when Ward fights his first big fight, and he gets knocked down and he's taking a beating, and they're like, yeah, you gotta wear him out. You gotta wear him out. And they start working the body and working. That's probably what the Celtics did last night. The Celtics were just working the body to the point where the Nets, they just had no more punching power left. Get on a message in here before we hit the next break. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where Jersey P says the Nets have old stars. Yeah, man. Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, these are all stars. These are guys. Blake Griffin got a huge max contract. DeAndre Jordan was a huge part of that Clippers Lob City team. They're not doing much for the Nets. And a big reason why they started Blake Griffin last night was because I think they were trying to be more athletic, and it came out that Blake Griffin doesn't have the rebounding prowess to be a small lineup center anymore. He got out-rebounded by Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson is not the leaper that Blake Griffin's ever been. He's not the shooter that Blake Griffin's ever been. But he's a solid post defender. He's a good pick-and-roll defender. And he's an excellent rebounder. And you saw last night that when he got those 9 offensive rebounds, that changed the course of the game. The Celtics were not going to be intimidated or pushed around by the Nets. They became the bullies. I think that in the NBA playoffs, we're finding out more and more that if you let the superstar on the other team do their thing and you bully somebody else, you can win games. That's what the Clippers did last night. What did the Clippers do? The Clippers said, Luka, you get yours. We don't care. But we're going to beat up Porzingis. We're going to make his life miserable. We're going to take away your number 2 guy. That's what they did last night. The Clippers went in there with a very good defensive strategy. They said, Luka, go get your 40 points. We don't care. We're not going to stop you. We're not going to slow you down. We're going after Porzingis and Tim Hardaway Jr. Porzingis was 3 for 10. Hardaway was 4 for 14 last night. And Porzingis had only 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and 9 points. And 3 fouls, by the way. They went after him, making him defend them too. And they had no answer. You take out a team's other players, you could beat them in the NBA playoffs. Porzingis looked defeated last night. He looked, when he saw Kawhi at one point on him, and then Marcus Morris another time, it was like his just heart sunk. Because he knew he had nothing for him in that game. He was done. He was cooked. So that's how you beat teams in the playoffs. All right. Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN. Appreciate all the feedback so far. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can keep commenting till the end of the show. Also, text board is open. Thanks to Glenn in EHT and Dan in EHT for chiming in at 609-403-0973 is the text board. 609-403-0973. Coming up next, I will break down the entire rest of the weekend for the NBA playoff games as we get you ready for Bucks Heat. 1 o'clock today on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers versus Wizards tonight, 7 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. And then tomorrow, we have Lakers and Suns at 3 p.m. right here on your home for Sixers basketball, the NBA playoffs, and more. 97.3 ESPN FM. I'm Josh Hennig, at Josh Hennig on Twitter.
The NBA playoffs continue. Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks storm into round 1, winning 3 straight against the Heat. Now Miami sits on the brink of elimination. Will they survive?
Obviously, you take it one step at a time. Everything can seem overwhelming if you look at the whole big picture.
Game 4 of the Bucks and Heat. Today at 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
The NBA playoffs, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's sports leader.
Are ants, wasps, mice, or mosquitoes bugging you? Viking Pest Control can protect your home or business this spring. For a limited time, new customers save $50 on any service. Get a fast, free quote at VikingPest.com.
Less talk, more drive means we stick to the facts. Like the fact that the Acura RDX has the modern utility of a premium crossover, but also a VTEC turbo engine. By sticking to the facts, we have more time for facts. Did you know that butterflies taste food with their feet? They don't have mouths. They just land on their food and head to Tasty Town. The more you know. Less talk, more drive. Visit your local dealer to learn more facts.
For attractive offers on the entire Acura lineup, visit your Delaware Valley Acura dealer today.
Recently, Tool Wireless helped Garrett Dvorak through
GM financing. Excludes prior sales. See dealer for details.
Many car dealers all around the area are having trouble getting inventory, so they're jacking up prices big time. But at Bennett Chevy, we haven't changed a thing. Why would we? You said you love our GM supplier employee pricing. You pay what our supplier employees pay, not a penny more. Bennett also gives you all the rebates, which can add up to a whopping 25% off MSRP. Plus, Bennett's got available 0% financing that'll save you thousands more. Looking for used? Good news. Bennett's still paying a minimum $7,000 for any trade you bring us, regardless of condition or miles. Any old heap is worth a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned in stock. And our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend, so there's no pressure ever. And Bennett Chevy is now an authorized lease return center for all brands. So now more than ever, there's just no beating Bennett. Find new roads at Bennett Chevrolet, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday, wrapping up the hour here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget my appearance here being brought to you by my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. The NBA Finals, the NBA playoffs are fully underway, and the NBA Finals will soon be here. The FanDuel Sportsbook is celebrating by hooking new users up with $100. Just bet $1 on either the Heat or Bucks series right now. And FanDuel will give you $100 in site credit even if your bet doesn't win. That's right, new users can bet $1 on either Miami Heat or Milwaukee Bucks right now. And FanDuel will give you $100 in site credit even if your bet doesn't win. That's why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. And there's no better way to bet on the playoffs than with their simple-to-use app. With unique and fun bet types, such as same-game parlays and exclusively always-on promotions, so you get more action out of every game day. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app now. Sign up with my promo code Hennig to turn your $100 into a big-time payday this NBA playoff season. That's promo code Hennig with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older to play and present in New Jersey. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires in 7 days after receipt. First bet only. Offer is non-transferable. Terms and restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Let's run down what we got going on here with the weekend in basketball. First of all, I'm very happy that the Clippers won last night. Not because I recommended you throw some money on them, because of the fact that I like to see a team have some pride. You know, Mike Gill talks about teams having pride sometimes. The Clippers showed you a little, hey, they want to win. They were serious. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Rajon Rondo, Marcus Morton, they all stepped up last night. So to me, I was happy to see that. I was happy to see a team care enough to want to go out there and get the job done, and help that they cover the spread. Anyway, today, the Bucks, I think the Bucks finished this series off today. I think that's what this series comes down to. Let's be realistic. You know, the Miami Heat, they just got nothing to offer. If the Miami Heat win today, I guess it's nice, but I'm not going crazy about it. They're down 3-0. They're going to lose this series. Milwaukee's moving on. The Denver-Portland series is fascinating to me because even though Denver has a 2-1 series lead, this game's in Portland. And I think that Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are going to come up big today. So I think that we got Bucks winning today, and the Blazers. I think this series goes 7 games. I think that Denver and Portland are two very evenly matched teams because they both have superstar players the other team doesn't have an answer for. Portland doesn't really have an answer for Jokic. And Denver has no answer for Damian Lillard. So, you know what? I think they kind of neutralize each other. Whichever superstar has the more consistent big games to get the job done. I think the Sixers win this game tonight. I think that the Sixers are serious about putting the Wizards out of their misery and trying to finish off this series as soon as possible. Whether Seth Curry plays tonight is inconsequential. The Jazz-Grizzlies game is fascinating to me because this game is in Memphis. It's tied 1-1. Remember, the Grizzlies won the first game. There was no Donovan Mitchell on the court. Donovan Mitchell comes back, has a huge impact on the second game. Now they go to Memphis. Can the Grizzlies have a hard-fought game at home and show the home court fans they care? You're going to find out tonight. I think the Jazz win this series in 6. I think Memphis wins one of these home games. It might even be tonight. But I think the Jazz ultimately win in 6. Tomorrow you have the Knicks versus the Hawks. I'm starting to think the Hawks might win this series. I just think the Knicks might just be outgunned. Julius Randle just doesn't have any answers for the defenders. They're running guys. I mean, when he goes in the post, Clint Capella comes in. When he tries to go on the perimeter, John Collins follows him around. I just feel like Atlanta's got too many answers. And Nate McMillan is doing a great job of playing chess with Tom Thibodeau. So I think Atlanta eventually wins this series. It'll probably go 6-7 games. You can hear Suns versus Lakers tomorrow, coverage at 3 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. Lakers win that series in 6. Chris Paul's shoulder, it's just extreme disappointment. So I think the Nets eventually win this series in 6. And I think the Clippers beat Dallas in 7, if you ask me right now. All right. Coming up next, Heat Bucks coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN tonight. Sixers at 7 p.m. Tomorrow, Billy's running the locker room at 10 a.m. And then Memorial Day, Sixers, 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great weekend.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Comfort Keepers, all the comforts of home.
Holiday week and the annual Click It or Ticket campaign is a reminder by police departments in the Garden State to buckle up or pay a fine. It's part of a nationwide effort to educate the public about the importance of wearing seatbelts. Buckling up is one of the easiest and best ways to prevent serious injuries or worse in a car crash. Yet many people still are not wearing their seatbelts. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in 2019, nearly half of the more than 22,000 people nationwide who lost their lives in a car crash were not wearing seatbelts. Of course, if you have kids, be sure you know the safety regulations for car seats for their age and weight. Let's all buckle up and be careful when we're behind the wheel, especially during holiday weeks when more people are out on the road. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Brought to you by Comfort Keepers, all the comforts of home. Visit Comfort